Assalamu alaikum and good evening. You are listening to Let's Talk, our weekly current affairs show with me, Akeel Khalil, and my co-host Hameed Chowdhury.
Assalamu alaikum.
We're live on Salaam Radio 106.2 FM and Inspire FM in Luton. We're online at salamradio.co.uk. You can also find us on our social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, etc. As well as YouTube Live or via our iOS and Android apps. We're always on air 24/7, 365, uniting all communities. Please get involved with your opinions by calling us on 01733 602 133, or you can text WhatsApp us on 07745 278 978. Assalamu alaikum, brother. How you doing?
Well, alhamdulillah.
Hey,
that got the better of you there, didn't it?
I was trying anyway. How you been? It's been what week? Second week?
Well, we weren't here last week.
Yeah, it's been a strange feeling.
So we missed a week. It's good to be back though.
Yeah, I agree. You had a good week?
It's been a good week, alhamdulillah. You know, it's sort of it's been a good week. Excellent. I was going to say same old, but then I say that every week, don't I?
We're edging slowly towards Christmas.
Yes, we are. 6, 7 weeks ago, something like that. So along those lines.
Yeah, this year's flying by, and new stories just seem to be getting worse every week as we seem to be approaching the end of the year. Yes.
Well, I mean, it's interesting actually because a few weeks ago there wasn't a lot happening, and suddenly we find that there's loads of stuff in the news. Maybe it is the end of 2017. That's some sort of turning point or something. I don't know.
No, I agree. And to that end, on tonight's show, we're going to be discussing the weakness at the heart of Theresa May's government. And then later on in the show, we're going to be speaking about the unprecedented Saudi purge, especially in relation to the creature comforts these princes seem to be enjoying while under some sort of arrest. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So alhamdulillah. So I mean, it's been an intense week in fact, it's been an intense couple of weeks really for Theresa May. She's had her government is effectively, well, certainly from the outside,
not strong and stable then.
No, definitely not.
I think the
weak and wobbly.
Weak and wobbly was absolutely correct when it comes to Theresa May.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean,
actually, where has she been?
Okay, here's the thing, right? I mean, she called the general election.
That's right.
This is where it's all started, and I agree with you. Where has she been for the last month and a half?
Yeah, well, longer than a month and a half. When was the general election over? A while ago, right?
Yes, but I mean, she's still around.
Yeah, so I mean, she was quite visible.
MP's break, haven't we? That's what's happened.
But before the election, she was a visible figure, right? She was acting as prime minister. You know, the Iron Lady version 2.0.
With better shoes.
And then, sorry?
With better shoes.
I don't know about that. But, and Jeremy Corbyn was the one who was kind of seen as a sort of weak. I mean, the opposition was basically non-existent.
Yeah.
And yet she calls a general election, and then suddenly it's a case of she's disappeared, and Jeremy Corbyn is the strongest figure in government, in Parliament right now.
Yes, I mean, obviously the Tories would argue they still managed to gain a million more votes and win that general election, which is true, but the popular.
No, but you have to see where they came from. They had a 24-point lead. Jeremy Corbyn was seen, well, according to the media anyway, was seen as unwinnable.
Yes,
and yet the gains he made and the places they retained and the losses that Conservatives had. I don't think they won the general election. On the contrary, I think they lost the popular the opinion that they had. Because the more people saw of Theresa May, the worse the less they liked her, and the more they saw of Jeremy Corbyn, which was an opportunity for him, the more they liked him.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And what's happened since then is we've had essentially a tsunami of negative information in relating to the Tories. Not particularly all about her, but it's shown a lot of what's happened, especially recently. It's shown that her government's really weak. I know they've got a very slim majority. Well, she seems indecisive. I
don't even think there's a majority. It's a minority government.
Well, yeah, they're in coalition, aren't they?
Yeah, they're in coalition. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. But nevertheless, you know,
they had to pay them a lot of money though to have that coalition.
We've had that conversation, haven't we? What was it? 1.5 billion pounds.
It was a lot more than that. I think it was. Oh, actually, I can't remember now.
Yes, it was an astonishing number, just so that whatever laws they might want to pass or any motions they needed extra votes on would be guaranteed to go through. And even then, that was a particularly thorny issue, especially. I mean,
food banks. The use of food banks is going up. Everyone has to tighten their belt a bit, but they found the money for in the back of the sofa to buy the DUP. To form the government.
See, what it is some may argue, and certainly
not trying to be cynical or anything, but you know.
They've been dealing with the deficit, okay, and so they've managed to save that money for a rainy day. I mean, perhaps there's a lot.
Well, I'm not sure because in October it was released that we're $490 billion. The projections. Hello, we're not in debt. We're in debt of 22 billion. But we're 490 billion less better off than we thought we were.
Staggering.
490, half a trillion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a staggering number.
That's like half of Saudi, Al Saud family's entire wealth, isn't it?
Yeah.
$500 billion.
Yes, that's
so
staggering.
But how's that happen? I mean, firstly, I didn't actually hear that news. I don't know if you heard it. $490 billion. That was last month.
Wow.
That came. The ONS, the Office of National Statistics. We did the figures and realized actually we've been promoting ourselves a bit too much, and we're actually 490 billion worse off than we thought we were.
Perhaps they've done this because we've got the budget coming up in a couple of weeks, haven't we?
Yes, of course, yeah.
And maybe they've.
But it'll be a tough time for Hammond, then.
Well, I mean, look, hasn't.
He's going to have to prove. He's going to have to say what the hell's going on here.
I agree with you. And the other element he's got as well is he doesn't particularly have the backing of so many of his colleagues within the cabinet itself anyway.
Yeah, but
so I think it's going to be
the guy.
Well, look, I understand.
I mean, I thought Osborne was bad, but this guy is just. I mean, maybe the Chancellor of the Exchequer, maybe they're all the same. I don't know.
Do you think it's a poison chalice?
I don't know.
Well, I tell you what, it appears to be. It appears to be the Prime Minister's role in the United Kingdom, the Chancellor's role in the United Kingdom.
Do we have a Prime Minister, by the way?
Is a poison chalice, and now
I don't know if it's a poison chalice. I mean, the Iron Lady did all right.
Well, I don't know if all of our listeners would agree with that, brother.
Barring the what was the tax that she put?
Council tax, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't a council. What was it called?
Well, that was one. Poll tax.
Was it poll tax?
Yeah, well,
it was poll tax. Yeah. It was a council tax, but it was yeah.
I mean, what do you think about that, brothers and sisters, listeners worldwide? Of Brother Hameed's point there about the Iron Lady doing well. I mean, you can call the studio there.
Well, a decade. She was in government.
You can clear that.
Maybe longer than a decade.
Please call the studio on 017336021.
Then I think Tony Blair was in for a decade as well.
Tony Blair was there for a long time.
I think he was there for a decade.
Started out well, actually.
I don't know. He started out well. I never liked the guy.
Fair enough.
He took us to war over a lie.
This is true, but that was what was that towards the the middle and end.
I don't care when it was. I mean, he took us to war over a lie.
I agree with you.
I mean, even a monkey could have won that election. I mean, people hated the Tories by then, so they wanted a change. So it was not. I don't think he did anything spectacular.
I'm loving the passion.
And then he took Labour from its roots. To kind of become more aligned with the Tories, to their position, pretty much. So I don't know. I mean, and I don't know. He took us to war over a lie.
I agree with you. I agree with you. He did, and the truth.
He should be arrested and tried.
What do you think of that?
Our boys have died out there.
Text or WhatsApp the
Not
studio
to mention
on 07745278978. Brother Hameed makes a really important point there. I mean, especially as we approach in Armistice Day as well. It's a poignant time, especially with what you just said there.
Yeah.
So fast forward a little bit now to the last couple of weeks. We've had the resignation of Michael Fallon.
Last week.
I mean, that was over harassment claims, and. Again, he was, some touted him to be a future leader. I mean, he was very media savvy. He came across really well. You thought, okay, potentially if they were going to have a leadership challenge,
he touched a knee or something of a reporter.
Apparently, and
I'm sure these guys have done far worse.
And allegedly, also something in relation to Andrea Leadsom as well. I mean, it's all alleged.
Okay, well, okay.
And so there's quite a lot of stories there. So he stepped down. He also got the Damien Green.
Do you think there's a lot more stuff in the closet there? Because he thought, well, I may as well just go now before.
I think following what's happened in Hollywood and how it's allowed people who have been victims to find their voice and report things that have happened in the past. I think.
But I mean, but that's a recent development.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Parliament has been plagued by this, isn't it?
And that's where I was going. I was going to say
on for a long time.
That's right. Yeah, and I think.
But then again, it all gets. There's a thing about politics, isn't there? I mean, there's this sort of massive inquiry into abuse, and yet we just kind of dies. It just gets shoved under the carpet until the next set of allegations come around.
Yeah, well, I got a funny feeling this is slightly different. I mean, you've got ministers who've stepped down. I mean, Damien Green, for example, again. I mean, he's been accused of watching extreme porn on his government, PCs, etc.
He denies it, though, doesn't he?
Of course he denies it, but this is the person who would be in charge of the country if Theresa May is not around. I mean, he's also another one now, so that's two. And then we've got this humongous saga.
Yeah, but I mean, take Michael Fallon. I mean, I think he admitted, but I mean, are they stepping down because they feel the accusation's right, or are they stepping down because it's tainting their role?
I think it's the latter because both of them haven't actually admitted it. So it would only be the latter.
Oh, for Michael Fallon?
No, he denied it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's the latter.
So do you think we're moving into now where we had this principle? I think it's an international principle. Innocent until proven guilty. But now in certain cases, especially cases like this, you're guilty until you can prove yourself innocent.
I think the premise of what you just said there at the beginning still stands. However, because we now live in such in a digital society, okay, I think we have trial by media. And I don't
social media.
Yeah, and it's not Joe Public who are doing the trial here, or effectively are the jury. It's the apparatus. The social media, etc., print media, etc., who are, there's leaks, etc., printing this. It's allowing people who wouldn't ordinarily have an informed opinion of it or anything relating to this to have an opinion and based on the facts that are being given to them via that particular narrative. I'm not saying what's happening isn't true or is true. All I'm saying is it's easy now in this, certainly in the time this is now being reported, it's easy to read an article and just think, oh, well, I don't know, there's no smoke without fire.
No smoke without fire, right.
And suddenly now there's loads and loads of articles. It's all over Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
So basically anyone, and I think they will come onto this, and this is part of that kind of story that we're covering, is that anyone can hold any one of our members of parliament effectively hostage because, if you rub somebody up the wrong way, and I mean that figuratively, the media could then just, lay any charge against you. I mean, it doesn't have to be proven, any charge against you. And I know this has probably been happening for a while, but in the age that we're living in now, and then you're kind of forced to resign under this cloud, even though after, even though it may be incorrect, it may be a lie that's just been thrown out there.
Look at the example now of Cliff Richard. Cliff Richard, the police stormed his house while he was in the UK. He had all these accusations at his door. Nothing was proven. It's completely damaged his reputation.
Yeah.
And it's the same. The principle's the same. Obviously, things have happened. I still struggle to find anyone who would go out in the public, certainly to the media, and say, look, this is what's happened to me, knowing full well that private investigators, the media, the police, etc., are going to now turn over every stone within that person's life to try and prove what they're saying or their case or the other way. And, why would you open yourself up to so much scrutiny? I just don't understand. I'm not naive. I understand also there's going to be people out there who potentially would be doing something like this because they don't get on with somebody or whatever. They may have some sort of ill feeling towards them or something's happen and think, well, this is my chance to do something now publicly. I can take this person down.
Yeah.
But I think the problem we have now is we are accepting, a lot of people are accepting what the first bit of information without researching it or looking into it a little bit further and seeing whether or not the dots really do join up.
Yeah, I suppose the information has been kind of democratized, whereas before the gatekeepers was the media, was newspapers. So in one sense, it's a good thing that the social media has come along and a lot of this information is being democratized, so we can get information without it being filtered. But the obviously the bad side of that is that any accusation, however illogical or futile, it may have its groupies, who kind of say, yeah, actually that's got to be right.
Yeah, and also we've had this situation now when the whole Parliament situation happened. It's widely reported actually that there was a WhatsApp group created by female parliamentarians.
Okay,
and they were naming people who either had done something to them directly or they had heard of something that happened to them, and there was a list of names that went out. It's all across the internet, etc. And people have been forced to defend themselves. Some have done it categorically, others have been silent, some have stepped down, and it's just started, it's quite literally lit a fire. And it seems to be going, at one point, you didn't think it was going to be the cabinet, but it was slowly building up, and now you've got the cabinet. And Theresa May now finds herself in a situation where she has this multiple scandals all happening concurrently. Okay, so you have a situation where you have, as I mentioned, Damien Green, you've got Michael Fallon. But I think what's really important here is, and I know the media are currently now trying to get this to go, to speak about this further, but Boris Johnson and his remarks about the British Iranian woman who is currently detained or in jail in Iran, where he essentially was at a select committee, and he said something along the lines of, well, she was there training journalists, and what we have now is, which is also widely reported, is the Iranian government teaching the Iranian journalists. The Iranian government has then
teaching journalism. I don't think it's teaching
well, the Iranian government and the judiciary there have used that, taken it back out, taken it back into court, and said, right, well, we're right then. You were a spy. This is what you were doing. And the fear now is, especially for her husband as well, is that she could get another extra 5 years on her jail sentence. Yeah. Again, for something she hasn't done. And the problem, and then just to add insult to injury, Boris Johnson has then not taken any responsibility initially when he did all that and didn't apologise. Then went into Parliament, gave a speech. But I mean, it really wasn't. I mean, it still didn't. He's definitely crossed the line here.
Yeah. Well, I think just to say about the British lady in Iran. I mean, she said that she was over there visiting family. Yeah. And having her child visit the grandparents. But then Boris Johnson goes and says, what the Iranians were saying in the first place. So is it? I mean, I don't know. Is Boris Johnson a liability? I mean, he's always been like that, isn't he?
Yeah, but the problem is,
he's in the Foreign Office, and I mean, how many people has he peed off so far?
But the problem I've got here is, how many times are these gaffes going to be allowed? How many times is he going to be allowed to do this, and we're all going to say, oh well, Boris is like that. I mean, for example, when he said his comments about the Libyan beaches. When Libya would be a great place if they got rid of the dead bodies. Yet you had the health secretary Jeremy Hunt coming on live national radio and saying, "Oh well, that's just Boris."
Yeah,
that's unacceptable.
It's unacceptable. Yes.
And now you're thinking, okay, we can't get any worse, and then he goes and does this. I just don't understand. Now, we have a situation where the Tories are weak. The Theresa May certainly is weak, and she perhaps is thinking, I can't lose yet another personality. Or perhaps she's thinking the hardliners behind her are going to be thinking, well, we can't support you anymore because you got rid of Boris Johnson. But then we have this huge story. I mean, it's one of the...
I mean, definitely she's... Yeah, before we go on to that, definitely she's not strong enough to get rid of somebody like Boris. That's for sure.
I like the way you rephrase that, brother, because she also wasn't strong enough to get rid of Priti Patel.
She hasn't. I mean, she didn't sack her.
Exactly,
which she should have done.
When she should have sacked her when she got back originally, and she gave her account of what's happened.
Unless there's more to the story than meets the eye.
Well, see, the story we got here is the International Development Secretary, the ex-International Development Secretary, may I add, had an unofficial trip to Israel. I mean, she said she was on a family holiday, but during this family holiday, she held 12 secret meetings with senior Israeli figures, including the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, is more remarkable the more you examine this story. Okay, I mean, let me break it down. In August this year, Priti Patel went on what she describes as a family holiday to Israel, right?
Yeah.
While there, she met all the senior members, including NGOs and businesses, while accompanied by a prominent conservative lobbyist, Lord Pollack. Okay, now we don't know for certain what's happened there. In fact, Theresa May doesn't know for certain what's happened there. The only people who know what's happened there is Lord Pollack and also Priti Patel and who the people she's having discussions with.
Yeah.
Nobody else knows the truth. Okay, so she comes back to the UK when these meetings were discovered. She gets hauled over in front of, Prime Minister May, and she immediately makes two false claims. Now, the first one was that the Foreign Office was aware of her trip in advance. It was not. It categorically denied this. And the second was there was no further meetings that took place other than the two that had been reported. There were, in fact, a further 10. So it's like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's. I mean, there's plenty more as we dissect this. I mean,
of course, yeah.
That section of where this starts, it's like, well, hold on a minute, what?
Yeah,
and
I mean, it's interesting. You go on a holiday, it's a 12-day holiday, and then you have these huge number of meetings. So you've either set them up in advance because you can't just turn up at a holiday venue and then middle of your holiday think, oh, you know what, I'll just go and meet some people.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work like that.
No.
We're talking about the Prime Minister and other people, senior figures of the government, and then you so you've set it up in advance. So the ministerial code would dictate that you would advise the FCO, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office or the Foreign Office, and part of the transparency or part of the code is that and this is why these ministers have aides, so they have to be present. The FCO has to be present, and then it's recorded the minute as to what conversations took place. But right now, as you rightly say, she has had these private meetings, secret meetings actually, as many people call them, and nobody quite knows what conversations or what commitments she's made on behalf of the British government, on behalf of ourselves, the British people, to a foreign government, without having the right and necessary people in place to kind of an oversight those conversations.
It's beyond belief that we have a international development secretary who's managed to then go to, and the other problem we've got here, go to Israel, is she only went to see the Israelis.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, one of the questions, I mean, she's been replaced, obviously. It was yesterday, I believe, she was replaced. And I was listening to a member of the permanent development committee, and she said the first thing Priti Patel's replacement has to do is go to see the Palestinians.
Yeah.
That's the first thing she has to do. She can't go to the Israelis. She has to go to the Palestinians. We can't have a situation where we have a minister from the United Kingdom showing any sort of preference to one side or the other. And I tell you what, the other thing that really bugged me as well, brother, was the fact that Priti Patel was recorded as going to the Golan Heights, an area which is not recognised by the United Kingdom, with the IDF.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, she has broken so many, sort of procedures at so many different levels, and then you do wonder why so secretive. I mean, if none of this brought the British government or British policies in disrepute, then why so secretive?
Exactly. I mean, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, the thing is, when the Prime Minister or her representatives were asked whether Priti Patel had broken the ministerial code, the Prime Minister's spokesman said that the code was unclear on the matter and that the Cabinet Office was looking at changing it. And this is quite extraordinary, of course. Well, it's true to say...
Let's change the...
I mean, it's true to say that the ministerial code doesn't include a paragraph explicitly forbidding ministers from conducting their own, foreign policies, just like,
Not freelancing.
Exactly. And just like it doesn't explicitly forbid them from independently starting a war. But I mean, surely common sense would dictate, or even if not that, would say, hold on a minute, should I be...
No, you're stepping on somebody else's toe, right? You're the FCO, the Foreign Commonwealth Office, who are responsible, who are there to advise the ministers as to what the British government policy is, especially in it's like Golan Heights and other situations, and they are there to provide us impartial view of that part of the world, especially that part of the world, and then you completely take them out of the picture. So you're freelancing foreign policy. It's what is that all about?
I agree with you. I mean, look, in an ordinary circumstances, embarking on a secret diplomatic mission, which you held unauthorized talks with a foreign power, would result in instantly being fired. But it just goes to show you how weak May's government is, that she felt she had no authority over it, and to that end, she didn't fire Priti.
Well, according
Priti
to
was given a chance to resign.
Yeah, I mean, according to the Jewish Chronicle, Priti Patel did disclose the 2 extra meetings. So these two particular meetings are the ones she had earlier on in September.
Well, I'm going to have to pause you on that, brother. We'll pick this up after the break.
Oh, wow.
This is just flown by, hasn't it?
It has flown by.
Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be back after these short ad breaks. Jazakallah ahead.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
Sadly, millions of orphans living in the poorest countries lack the necessary support for a healthy childhood. These children have to endure lives of hardship without the basic necessities that would help them to grow, to learn, to live. Let's show them that we do care. Let's brighten up their future. Call 0161 225 0225 or visit humanappeal.org.uk.
Do you like the idea of being a radio presenter? Have you got a great idea for a show? Why not get in touch with us? We are always looking for enthusiastic, committed and professional individuals to join our team of volunteer presenters. Send us an email to info@salamradio.co.uk and we'll be in touch. You could be on air sooner than you think.
Third world and developing countries are home to some of the most vulnerable children on the planet. Malnutrition, severe lack of medical aid and access to clean water are just some of the horrific challenges faced by orphans across Africa and Asia. Children of Adam, a Peterborough charity, need your help to bring aid to these orphans for just £25 a month. To sponsor an orphan or assist with other projects, please call 0300 321 0032 or visit www.childrenofadam.net.
Iqra Academy is the only Muslim girls' school in Cambridgeshire where your daughter will develop her knowledge of Islam and the national curriculum in a safe environment. Ofsted has judged the teaching and learning, leadership and management, pupil behaviour and personal development as good in June 2017. Iqra Academy's qualified staff teach in small classes, and the school is producing sports teams who have a track record of succeeding at national level. With reduced fees and a good rating 3 times from Ofsted, why not consider Iqra Academy for your daughter? Enroll now to avoid disappointment. Please contact 01733 331 433 or email admin@iqraacademy.org.uk.
عن ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما قال أخذ رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بمنكبي فقال كن في الدنيا كأنك غريب أو عابر سبيل. وكان ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما يقول إذا أمسيت فلا تنتظر الصباح وإذا أصبحت فلا تنتظر المساء وخذ من صحتك لمرضك ومن حياتك لموتك.
لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله محمد رسول الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Broadcasting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is Salaam Radio.
Salaam.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Let's Talk, our weekly current affairs show with me, Brother Hameed, and Akeel Khalil live on Salaam Radio 106.2 FM and also Inspire FM in Luton.
Assalamu alaikum.
Listeners, if you want to get involved in the conversation tonight, you can call the studio on 01733 602 133, or you can text WhatsApp us on the studio on 07745 278 978. Before we went to the ad break, we were talking about the misdemeanors, the misconduct in a public office of Priti Patel, as well as the government, actually, of May's government, and her inability to take decisive actions, especially in situations where cabinet ministers have most certainly overstepped the mark, and in some cases more than once.
Yeah, I mean, effectively, they've gone on and done their own thing without and put May, according to the current narrative anyway, put May out of that picture. But as I was mentioning just before we went on the lunch break, that Jewish Chronicle, they report that in addition to the meetings, that 10 meetings actually that she said, there were 2 extra meetings that happened in September 7th and 18th, where initially Priti Patel first met the Israeli public representative, I think, Gilad Erdan, in the British Parliament, and then secondly on September the 18th met the Foreign Minister Yuval Wutam, I hope I pronounced that right, in New York. Now, according to the Jewish Chronicle, she told May about this, and then she was told by Number 10 not to include that in the list of meetings that she's gonna put out there, because it'll embarrass the FCO, the Foreign Commonwealth Office. So there is, and then again when she met Netanyahu, the UK government was made aware within hours of that meeting. But yet the narrative we've been given, and this is according to the Jewish Chronicle, but the narrative we've been given that nobody knew about this, and people went off to do our own little thing, and do our own sort of freelancing of foreign policy. So who's right, who's wrong? I mean, will we ever know? I don't know.
I don't think we'll ever know.
She's resigned now, and maybe that's the reason she's given the opportunity to resign, and that's why May hasn't sacked her.
Well, I mean,
because there's more to it than meets the eye.
Potentially. I think the other element you got here as well is by her also not being fired. I mean, this effectively allows her in the future to try and come back into a cabinet position, because she's not been fired. She stepped down. She's resigned for this, and she's very much liked amongst her peers in the Tory party.
I mean, I read somewhere that she was one of the things that she probably wants to run for the next leadership contest, and this is all part of oiling the wheels. If you must, to kind of fund her campaign. I don't know how much true that is, but that's. I mean, there are a lot of rumors circulating about and largely it falls from the very point that nobody knows what was discussed in. I mean, the only thing that we do know that when she came back, she then pressured, according to one MP, pressured the International Development Office to give aid to the IDF in Golan Heights. So, the British aid should be directed at, considering that Golan Heights is not recognised as a Israeli territory, according to the
and apparently
government.
It was for so the Israeli Defence Force could use that money to help the wounded Syrians.
I think, that's irrelevant. That's.
What I find quite shocking.
I mean, the reasoning is irrelevant because you can make any reasoning up. But the point is that money was to be diverted.
Yeah.
And she pressurized the office to divert the money to IDF, a foreign government.
This just beggars belief. It really does. It really beggars belief. Her actions in recent months and what's happened, what's been uncovered, I agree. I think if more digging was done, I think we'd find more bones.
I think we do. Yeah, I mean, there's other rumors about, you know, that as soon as she came to office, she wanted to cut the aid to Palestinians and whatever. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and a lot of this probably is rumors and probably is just hearsay. But you know, as we were talking earlier, there's no smoke without fire. I mean, the point is that there's a lot of this stuff, and now she's been caught, you know, red-handed effectively, with her hands in the cookie jar, where she's been meeting secretly with the Israeli government. I mean, you know, it's bad enough meeting anyone else, but to be meeting the Israeli government in the situation that the world find itself, where, you know, it's about a lot of issues in the Middle East, huge number of issues, you know, and it's treatment of the Palestinians, and we've covered this many times. You know, the kind of almost apartheid-like state. I mean, Cameron called Gaza an open-air prison, you know, where it's effectively removed its citizens and sealed it off. Even the Palestinians within Israeli territory are not treated, you know, as equal citizens. So, you know, you've got a state with such an absurd human rights record, and we've seen this with a lot of UN reports that have come out recently, and all the UN resolutions. So, and yet, you know, we have our ministers, and this is, I mean, we had Theresa May recently, you know, saying that, you know, being quite commending of the Arthur Balfour declaration, and cozying up with the Israeli government, and all of them conservative friends of Israel. So, you know, I mean, all this stuff, you know, we're cozying up with a regime that, you know, a lot of people call it a pariah regime. You know, its treatment of the Palestinians is ludicrous and absurd. So you know, she's been caught having secret meetings, and I wonder what those. I mean, we really want to know what was said on those in those meetings.
I would love to have been a fly on.
And she's not. I mean, she was supposed to go to she was supposed to go to Africa. Her flight was at 5 o'clock in the evening. So she had enough time to go to the Commas and answer the questions. She moved the flight to 10 in the morning. So she'll be flying out of the country when those questions were being posed to her. So, and
her deputy actually stepped in, and he and some of the questions were saying, well, she's not here to answer.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it cost the taxpayer, according to Guardian, about £8,000.
Correct. And also, Flight Scanner reported, it was all over Twitter as well, that no other flight has ever been monitored more than her flight back from Africa to the UK.
Because everyone's waiting for her to be sacked. You're fired.
Yes,
I
mean,
that didn't come though.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I mean, it certainly did become almost you know, like a movie towards the end, wasn't it? Yeah, I think, you know, I think Theresa May has got a major reshuffle to do.
No, she's lost 2 cabinet ministers.
She's lost 2 cabinet ministers. She needs to get.
She has replaced them though, so.
The budget needs to be good to restore some sort of faith in her and her party. And
I think she's gone.
Really?
Yeah. She can't survive much of this. I think the Conservatives, the people in her own party. I mean, Brexit is the biggest thing we have. I mean, I don't know, in our lifetime, right?
I agree.
You know, and it's been made a hash of.
It is.
I mean, we still don't have a strategy. There's no clear. I mean, we're supposed to be in negotiations, and you know, we're diddling around. You know, this whole government is you know, if it's not a sex scandal, it's some, you know, minister freelancing. It's so many different things. I mean, Absolutely. This government is not capable of really putting out a solid front, and getting us the best deal possible. Because right now, you know, I think the Europeans know it.
Well, they do. To that end, Mr. Barnier has given us a 2-week deadline. We have 2 weeks to get our divorce bill in order, and then we can start talking about trade talks. If not, we've got a serious predicament. So we are heading towards what appears to be a cliff at the moment, a cliff edge, certainly. I hope the Tories can get their house in order and get a reshuffle or whatever she needs to do to really put the pressure and all our resources back in the direction we need to go in, because Brexit is huge.
Yeah.
And I hope this is. I've got a feeling it isn't the last of the skeletons that's going to come out. But
I don't know how much more can be tolerated. I don't know how much more the party will tolerate, because at the end of the day, the only reason she hasn't gone yet after the snap election she called is because of Brexit.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the fact that we were so close to Brexit, I think they would have got rid of her a long time ago. But we're so and we're so close to Brexit, it looks like a mess. Nobody is. I mean, who's gonna, in the right mind, gonna want to step into her place?
I agree with you. I mean, he just rolled back now to the time when she was Home Secretary, when she went for the leadership of the Conservative Party and then became Prime Minister. Everything was going really well. She had what appeared to be a good 12 months. She appeared to be in a position where no matter who challenged her in political space, in the Commons, whether it's in the media, etc., she seemed untouchable. And then I don't know what happened. She went on a walking holiday with her husband. They decided, she's come back. She said, right, I'm going to call a referendum, so I have more of a mandate. Snap election, sorry. And have more of a mandate, so I can go to the Europeans and say, look, this is what the Brits want, and I'm here to I'm here to secure this.
Yeah.
But instead, all right, fair enough. She won the snap election, but she's significantly weaker.
I don't know. The margin was used as a minority government.
A win's a win, brother. Anyway, right?
I don't know how a win happens.
Right, a payment towards the DUP, and then even then you're thinking, okay, there's a wobble, everything's going to be okay, and now we've got this situation. I am just glad it's not me. But from a citizen's point of view, we need somebody now who the Europeans respect and not looking towards us thinking, oh well, how are they going to negotiate with it? Exactly. So I hope we do. She and the people around her, advisors, etc., can get their minds together and pull their resources together and work as one and try and get through this. Because if not, there's going to be no deal, brother.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're stuck. I mean, we have to have a deal. Yeah. We've triggered Article 50, so we have to have a deal by the end of it. And I don't know. Is it too late to change? I mean, maybe the Conservatives the party should be thinking, look, let's get rid of her.
I actually don't think
let's
it's too
bring
late to
somebody
change,
else in who can steer the ship and take us forward, because.
I agree with you. I certainly don't think it's too late to change the leader, personally.
I know, would DUP then back out? That's the thing. There's so many different dimensions to this now.
There is absolutely. I agree. And listeners, what do you think? Do you think the Conservatives should have a new leader? Do you think we are heading towards the cliff? Do you think this Brexit negotiations can be saved? Please call the studio on 01733 602 133. Or you can text and WhatsApp us at 07745 278 978. It's time for us to move towards our second topic now. I hope the Tories can sort their situations out and the rest of it in the meantime. But what we're going to talk about now in the second half of the show is the unprecedented surge, which is, ended with a humongous Saudi purge. I mean, this is taking everybody by surprise. Last Saturday,
except obviously Jared Kushner
and the rest
and Trump.
Last Saturday, November the 4th, Saudi Arabian authorities arrested an astonishing 11 princes, along with dozens of other officials and businessmen, in what has since been deemed as the Saudi purge. This was at the direction of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who we will refer to henceforth as MBS, and his father King Salman. Now, the roundup was part of a series of steps that MBS has taken since becoming the Crown Prince in June. Okay, so and to then, we've covered this previously on the show, where he's going to be investing in renewable energy sector, changing the way Islam is perceived and also exported from Saudi Arabia. His Vision 2030, the $2 trillion investment, all this. But what's really, really taken everybody aback is some of the princes who have been, detained and where they've been detained. I remember when this story broke. You know, you had all these. Okay, there's been 1 or 2, 5, 6. Suddenly there's 10, and then is you have the what I would certainly refer to as probably the top prince out of the lot was the Prince Al Walid bin Talal, one of the richest men in the world, who has shares in Twitter and all the rest of it. I mean, he owns
10 billion in Kingdom.
He's got many of the world's famous hotels, etc. He's also one of the most prominent investors. He's essentially the Arab Warren Buffett, this chap. But anyway, they've all been arrested, and at the same time, the government's frozen bank accounts of more than 36 detainees, putting about $33 billion of personal wealth at risk. But it's where they've been detained. They've been detained in a very luxurious hotel, Riyadh's Ritz-Carlton. And what's
there isn't a prison for the princes, is there?
Yes.
Well, that is a prison.
Well, it is a prison, yeah. Well, but the other element here is...
Mind you, they had photos of these guys, but they were sleeping on the floor with sort of blankets over them, so...
Wow.
I don't know. You'd think that they would be given a room with, I mean, Ritz-Carlton is one of the most expensive
hotels. I mean, you can't tell me they've said, right, okay, we're going to detain you in the Ritz-Carlton, but make sure the amenities are all being supplied, all these things are available to the princes. Well, what's the point of detaining them?
Well, they're detaining them because it's almost like a house arrest.
Well, of course it is, but I mean, they could have done that in their own palaces, etc. But anyway, look, that's just the beginning. The Wall Street Journal reported on November the 7th that the Saudi government plans to seize $800 billion in total assets. I mean, this is just... I just find it astonishing, where you have a 29-year-old prince who's now 32. Who's now 32. Yeah. When he was 29, he became the defense minister.
Yeah.
Right? He's now in line for the throne. From all the research I've done, etc., it appears like he is essentially consolidating power. Any opponent of any description appears to have been detained. He has replaced people, really, really important positions, defense, National Guard, etc., 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 finance. All these positions appear to have been now replaced with people who he has, chosen to do that. But the problem here, what I was going to say to you, brother, is this. Pulling off a successful political purge is no easy feat, particularly in Saudi Arabia, where lines dividing royalty, politics, security, media, and business are undeniably blurred.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that the process I thought was quite interesting. So Jared Kushner comes to meet, and I'm not sure if this is a coincidence, but he meets MBS, who they've got a good relationship with, and then. There's a few days, and then a few days later, they set up this anti-corruption committee, of which the head is Mohammed bin Salaam, MBS, and then he goes after and starts to the following day, or within hours, I think, starts to arrest these 11 princes and ministers and reforms. I mean, there are 200 people or so have been arrested and detained across the board, all in the name of corruption. Now, I mean, I find it astonishing that this can even happen, because we're talking about the royal family, blood is thicker than water and all that kind of stuff. But clearly MBS, complete outsider, feels that he is the best man for the job. And it would be interesting that, the US, I mean, Trump especially is tweeting, last time he was here, the Qatar thing happened. This time Jared Kushner was here, these princes are being arrested. So the meddling in Saudi government, I mean, it's always been there, but this is just overt meddling by the United States.
Yeah, I mean, to that end, a recent tweet there from Donald Trump in relation to the floating of Aramco.
Yes.
He was essentially, touting for it. He was saying, it'd be good if it was in America.
Yeah,
I mean, it's potentially going to be either.
Do you think he's too young? London. He's 32 years old, this guy, and he's just been manipulated.
I think
he's been told, look, you can be the king.
No, I don't think age is the issue here. I think experiences, obviously. He has,
well, that's what I mean. He's 32 years young.
I think what's perhaps the other thing as well you have here is the... Okay, look, Saudi Arabia's got 6, family tree branches, yeah? approximately 15,000 royals, right? All told, House of Saud probably is worth about $1 trillion, right?
Yeah.
And the way that they work is how the line of succession is ever changing. So the current King Salman is the son of Abdul Aziz ibn Saud, the founder of modern Saudi Arabia for the last 6 days, and it goes forward. Now, in order for the line to continue, and especially his version of the tree to continue, he needs his son to be successful. And I think what they're doing now is that they're blooding this prince in, okay? And I think what's happened here is he's seen what he can do, and he's also seen most people, he's probably tested the water while he was the defense minister, what he can and can't do, who his opposition was. And I think potentially you're right. I think he has been influenced internally and externally, thus giving him the courage of, or perhaps the time he needed and the evidence he felt he needed to gain, so he could put that in front of his father or fellow colleagues and say, right, look, this is what I've got, this is what they've been up to, or etc., and I can now do this. And they've said, right, okay, we'll go with you. So it is a.
Well, I don't think it's a case of evidence. Otherwise, evidence will be presented before you arrest people.
But that's what I was going to say. The evidence from external parties showing alleged corruption.
So, well, we don't know even if that is there. We don't know.
That's my point.
We don't know. But I think what's happened is that this guy MBS was growing up,
right,
and he was probably being bullied by the other guys. So he thought, right, and one day I will come into power.
I'm gonna be king.
And so when he was defense minister, he thought, wow, you know what? I'll try out on these Yemenis. The weakest government. 28 million people in Yemen. 20 million of them need aid to just satisfy their humanitarian aid, just to satisfy their basic needs. So he's been obviously taking lessons from the US when they attacked Afghanistan, the richest country, the most powerful country in the world, attacks the weakest and the most weakest country in the world, the poorest country in the world. So Saudi again, he thought, I'll do a few pot shots at Yemen, and that will establish my credentials. But unfortunately, it's not that easy once you get into a war to get out of it. So it's been 2 years now. There's no end in sight. There's no, tens of thousands of people have died since this conflict began with Saudi involvement, and now Saudis they've struck a deal with Trump to buy more and more arms, and I'm sure from other governments as well. So he's grown up, and he thought, the defense secretary has done that, and now when he's got the width of power, because now he's been made crown prince, he's just gone after anyone in that famous picture to kind of get rid of.
The other thing as well is, in relation to Yemen as well, is you can't see an exit strategy, especially when last week...
Don't know an exit strategy.
I was going to say, you can't see an exit strategy, because especially last week when it's been reported that a missile was fired towards Riyadh, which was intercepted by the missile defense system that Saudi Arabia has. And he's come out and he's blamed Iran.
Well, I mean, he of course, as far as he's concerned, his enemy is Iran. So now with Lebanon, with Saad, who was the prime minister of Lebanon,
who resigned,
who went to Saudi Arabia on holiday. and he resigned, but he's not been seen since. So I think there are sort of, according to the Lebanese, they're saying that he hasn't officially lodged that his resignation, so we don't accept it, and they've not heard or seen from him since. But last night or early hours this morning, last night it was, the Saudis and UAE told its citizens to get out of Lebanon.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what that means. But yeah, so I don't know what he's doing, because he's got this war in the south in Yemen, which he can't get out of. He's cut off Qatar, which is a failed plan because Qatar has just been moved further closer to Iran and Turkey. In the north, you've got, between you and Lebanon is Jordan. So, and you're kind of taking pot shots at Lebanon now, all because Iran's flexing its muscle. I mean, you've got Iraq, which is failed right now. Syria, which is a fail.
Libya.
You got this, Libya.
Egypt.
There's Egypt, but you got all these countries around you which are problematic, are having either civil unrest or some sort of, or the infrastructure's broken or whatever. And then you're taking the chance to take pot shots at other countries. I don't know what the strategy is. I can't work it out.
I agree with you. I mean, look, what we've learned about MBS is that he's a crown prince who's taken 2 foreign leaders. I mean, some outlets are reporting as hostage.
2 foreign leaders.
Yeah, so certainly you got the Lebanese, people are now reporting he's forced the Lebanese Prime Minister to resign. I don't know about that. I think obviously he's come on.
Yeah, obviously you got the Lebanese Prime Minister, and he's also demanded that Abbas, the Palestinian, is he Prime Minister? I don't know what he is actually.
Yeah, I think he's the Prime Minister or President or something.
Well, the elected one was Hamas, wasn't it? But but I don't know what he's from Palestine to come over.
You're listening to Peterborough's community radio, Salaam Radio, 106.2 FM.
Okay,
that was random.
Can't stop it.
Okay, that was a technical issue we just had there. But look, here's the situation we've got here. MBS, he started a war in Yemen. He's blockade, like you said, Qatar. He's now had this huge Saudi purge, where all these ministers, etc.,
and all the ones who are supposed to be sporting his strategy,
exactly,
going forward,
and all these extremely successful businessmen, etc., around the world have all been detained. The West. The US are describing him as a reformer.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
I've just come out of Penny Appeal's orphans accommodation. Brothers and sisters, they've got a kitchen where they're getting fresh food cooked and served to them. They've got foster mothers looking after them. These are how orphans should be looked after. Sponsor an orphan for pennies a day. Call 0.
Contact 01733 331